everyone, Nerdquest Podcast coming at you as usual from Josh's basement, or as we like to call it, his sex dungeon. As usual, before we even start, I gotta remind you guys that we're not affiliated with the Nerdquest movie coming out. And now, back to the important stuff. As usual, it's me, your host Jacob, along with
Josh, a.k.a. Zorgulon, Destroyer of Worlds.
Yes, the Destroyer of Worlds and the worlds that he has destroyed. They don't exist.
They do.
Anyway.
One's named Cantaloupe.
Anyway, as we said last week, it is another Pottercast. Our third one, I believe. And as you hear, we are not alone. We have two guests with us. Two nerdy Harry Potter guests, as usual. We have one, which is...
I'm your friendly neighborhood Maxidillo.
Maxidillo, always a pleasure having him around. He's a fun little buddy we have. You know, that. And then we have a little more sinister on the couch next to Max. Someone who, you know, I wouldn't say is completely evil, but, you know...
She's neutral evil as opposed to chaotic evil.
Yes.
I can be chaotic evil.
Yeah, you can.
Time needs, but
and her name is...
Nicole.
Nicole, or as we call her, Nikki. Who calls you Nicole? No one calls you Nicole.
People at work.
I've never heard anyone call you Nicole.
It's wrong.
It's weird.
She's as
It's
evil
French.
as Conrad
It sounds
is dumb.
wrong.
That's because it's French.
It sounds... well, yes, that's
That
why
would be the
it's...
French. Adventures of Mayonnaise.
Yes. I love
Unix, every
mayonnaise.
one of them.
Okay, we're already off track on this. Okay?
Horribly.
And it's going to get even worse.
Wrong Disney movie series.
Because we're listening, or we're talking about Harry Potter today. Specifically, and it's probably not going to last long, the first book and movie. You know, the book...
Give us credit, we're trying for organization.
We try, but you guys, if you've listened to us before, you know this is not going to happen. That probably won't end well. Anyway,
Those are new.
Can we focus here?
No,
Jeez.
we're not physically capable
It's
of
like
it.
having it's wrong. We should not have 4 people who have ADD on this podcast.
I do not have ADD.
I'm pretty sure you don't.
I'm
pretty sure Jake doesn't.
Okay, book one. Go.
Book one.
Filch and
the
Josh.
book that started it all.
Actually, the last
The
book
book
I
that-
read.
The last book you read. So that's a good starting off point. When did you guys first read book one? I read it in 2nd grade.
I read it the year it came out because my parents thought it'd be a good book for me to read at that age.
How old were you when it came out?
He was younger than me.
Young.
Yeah,
I was in 1st grade.
That's 98, isn't
Considering
it?
I'm the
he
baby
was
on this podcast.
young.
No,
Psychologist
it came out in America.
In 98.
Was that the year?
I want to say it was 98. Well, how old were you in 98?
98? I would be 4. I read it with my mom.
Okay, I thought you meant like...
Wait, well, I
she
didn't
helped me
even
with the
know
big
that
words.
Harry
See,
Potter...
that's what she did. That's what my mom did with me. Is I would sit and read the book, and whenever something came across that I didn't know, I go to my mom because she's good at English, and if she didn't know what it was, or she didn't know what it was, we went straight to the dictionary.
Yeah,
What is a Quidditch?
I cannot English.
Yeah.
It does not work.
Yeah. I read it in 1st grade.
Mm-hmm.
It's about when it came out.
I was in high school when I actually got around to reading the first book.
It's because you're wrong. My grandmother actually gave me a copy of the book paperback, and then I got a hardback copy of the book, and I just read it cover to cover. I think twice.
It was the first big chapter book I ever read.
Yeah, same here.
See, the third one
as a-
was the
same.
first big chapter book I finished.
The third one's my favorite, but
Fourth
that'll be in a different podcast that we have.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah. So, were you guys instantly hooked after reading the first one?
Yup.
Yeah.
Except for you, because you were wrong.
Yes.
No,
you
because
were-
I did things
except for
backwards.
Nikki.
Yes.
But
Nikki's wrong.
after I saw the first movie, I was definitely hooked. It was my sister who got me into it.
Uh-huh.
We were at my grandparents' house in Eastern Washington
Mm-hmm.
when the first movie came out, so it's like we didn't even have to fight any crowds because nobody lives there.
Yeah.
I saw
Yeah,
the first
Eastern
movie and I'm like,
See,
I need to be a part of this.
I wasn't instantly hooked after the first book or the first movie, surprisingly.
Oh, I was.
For some reason, it just didn't quite kickstart it. Like, I was like, wow, this is a good book. I like reading it. And I picked up the second one. And I think it was the second one that really, caught
second
me.
one was the
and
first
really,
one I tried to read.
That was the one that really got me interested in it. I think it eventually, and which is why the third one's my favorite. The third one's the one that got me hooked. And that's when I was like, I
have to
love
say
this
the third
series.
one is the one that got me hooked because it is the first one I finished.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to have to say the second one's probably actually what got me hooked, because for me, I started with the first one, But at the time, since it was the first big chapter book I'd ever read, I didn't really have the concept of a series.
Yeah.
But then I'm like...
Same here.
But then I'm like, Chamber of Secrets. Wait, Harry Potter. And then I did one of those, look at the first book, look at the second book, look up.
Oh, it's the same
First,
one.
second, up. And I went, is this the same? And I started reading, it is the same! And so then I was like, is there going to be another one? Because I'm totally reading that.
What got you guys to read? Well, you, Nikki, you're kind of excluded from this question because you just
Because
had
you were
to-
wrong.
I do what I want.
series. What got you to read it?
She's such
for
a
the first
rebel.
time? If you remember, I know Max. This might be hard since you were 4, but
When I first read it, my mom, she was looking to step up from the smaller children's books like, Dr. Seuss, Sandra Boynton, Maurice Sendak. She was trying to step up from those. And one of her friends was raving about this book, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
I gotta say the first one would probably, due to the size of it and the content, it's probably a good one to really start if you want to get into reading.
Definitely,
it's a good one. It's a good starting off point.
Which
Yeah.
is something I think is
It
great for the
definitely
series
is.
because it starts off small and somewhat easy because he's young.
Yeah.
The people who are going to read it are young.
So
And
they
that's
can
what was
connect
so
more.
amazing is because you grew up with this character who's also growing up and you're just like,
That's the genius
Yeah.
of
it
Rowling.
That
connects
was really
it so
profound.
much more.
Well, I've realized that too. That's the genius of Rowling is that she made each book grow with you, and
Definitely.
and she made it a lot like school, where each year gets a little more complicated, a little more difficult, and
Yeah.
The
Which,
books get bigger.
along with the content, the books get and
Helping
so
raise the Potter generation.
definitely
She's like teaching us
she
to read.
She definitely did it right. I got started.
She done good, Roland.
Oh,
I-
yeah.
Done good.
I know. I started reading it because my older sister was reading it.
Same
and
here.
You have an older sister?
I do have an older sister.
See, I am the older brother, so I
Yeah.
was the first one to read it.
Allie,
Same. I
my
was
sister
the-
Allison was the first one.
I'm the older brother.
And
so
by the
I
way,
read it first.
Josh and then Max are the older brothers here.
Now, my sister's 3 years older than me, and she said it was too difficult to read. And so me being the younger brother that wants to one-up her older siblings, I was like,
Always.
give it here. Well, at first I was like, well, it's kind of funny because she had mentioned it a couple times. She said something about a kid living under stairs. I'm like, is the kid really small? Like I thought he was like
George Shrinks. Kind
yeah, something like that, like Thumbelina size.
Yeah.
And she goes, no, it's just a kid who lives under a staircase. I'm like, so he's normal size? She's like, yeah. I'm like, well, what's it else about? She's like, I don't know. There's magic and wizards. I'm like, well, this could be interesting to read.
You just said two of my favorite things, so
I know.
give it.
Well,
Before I even know they were my favorite things. But yeah, so she said she couldn't finish it because she didn't like. One, she didn't like it, and 2 was too complicated. I'm like, oh, give it here. Let me try it. And that's when I started reading it. I think I finished it in a month.
Huh,
a
yeah.
month.
Yeah.
That's about how
Oh,
long it
God,
takes
the
me to
cat's
read
back.
any book.
But nowadays,
There's no cat.
nowadays I can probably read it in like
A day.
3-4 hours.
Well, anyone
Yeah.
who knew me in elementary school, and I don't think any of you guys did.
I didn't know any of you guys till high school because I
Same.
I knew Josh in middle school.
Yes,
Yeah.
like vaguely.
I knew
I
him
know
because
who
of
that
Janaea.
kid is.
And then,
And that's pretty weird to say, but I was obsessed with anything magic, witch, vampire, werewolf, anything frickin' weird
Werewolves!
considered by most people
What's
was like
new?
all about me. So when I saw the movie and it was like, this kid's doing magic, I fucking want to do magic. Sign me up for this Hogwarts school thing. I want to get into this.
we can swear on this podcast?
Oh, dude.
have you
Fuck
said
yes,
you,
bitches.
You said you listened to this before, dude. I cuss all the time on this.
It's been a while.
Yeah,
Fuck yes, motherfucker.
Oh
I
my
gotta-
God.
I gotta
Max
say,
is like, he's all excited. He gets,
I can use big boy words.
Big boy words.
I gotta say,
Motherfuckers.
when it comes to a book to movie, I think the first movie was probably the most accurate. To
It
the book.
definitely
No,
was.
see, I feel like
Overall,
the first
overall.
two, Chris Columbus was the
He
best
did it
director
right.
by
He did
far.
it right.
See, the third director,
David Yates did good, but
Mhm.
Chris Columbus did it right.
Yeah,
this time.
he done good.
the
He done
set, the
best.
costumes, everything with Chris Columbus, even the lighting made it feel real.
Yeah.
Well, you see a dramatic shift after the second one, well, mainly because when Chris Columbus stopped directing. But it goes from a very kind of vibrant look and like everything pops out to very dull and muted and like a kind of a darker
Which kind
tone.
of works for the third book, though.
Yeah.
Because
that's when it starts shifting to get a lot darker.
The first and
it
second
becomes
book
a lot
are
darker
because
and
this
more
is about the
mature.
first
I
book,
mean,
right?
once they kill the first Horcrux,
that
shit's
didn't
getting
last
real.
long.
So let's
Yeah.
check the time on that. We started what, 5 minutes ago?
we actually started almost 10 minutes ago, and we're
So
already.
that took about 5 minutes to get us off the first book.
We're
come
still
back
on
to
the
it.
first
We'll
book.
come back
we're
to
just,
it, but
discussing
we're just-
how it leaps off and goes into a series.
Yeah, like the
Which,
first
the
and
beginning of
second
any
were-
series, you kind of have to talk about that.
Yeah.
The first two books are definitely set up, and it's kind of introducing you to this new magical world, and very crazy and awesome at the same time.
Cerberus living at the school.
Yeah,
and giant ass snakes
and you
living
got-
in the sewer system.
You got to think about it when you first see something and you first get introduced to something that's like mind blowing. Everything pops out to you.
I mean,
Everything's
the
new.
first time
Like-
you guys
like,
saw Voldemort, you all pissed yourselves.
But by
Just
like,
about.
Like Injustice. that kind of blew my mind.
By the third book and third movie, you're used to it. You're engrossed. It's kind of become a part
This
where
is
like
the norm.
Yeah, this is the norm. You're
Harry
part
will
of this
always
world
be
now.
dirty at the end of the movie.
Yeah, that. And so I think that's why it made the shift to not so bright and vibrant.
Yeah,
and
it got a little more mature as the audience reading it grew more mature and the content grew a little more mature, where like they kill a part of this badass's soul and
like
just so you know, guys, that happens.
Spoiler.
It shifts from like, oh,
Yeah.
this is like a kid growing up to this kid has to save the world,
Yeah.
and not everything is going to be bright and shiny.
It really
he's
sets
growing
the third
and
book.
the real world is hitting him.
The
at
third
same
book
time as the
really
magical
sets
world.
the tone for what the
and
series
you
is going to be.
feel for him. It's more real that he doesn't really have a family.
Mhm.
Yeah. That Josh would like to point out something. I really hope that you guys appreciate these Pottercasts, because whenever we do one, Jake and I go into massive post-Potter depression again.
Oh, definitely.
It's just like when we do that, and it's like we just finished the last movie again. It's just like
it's why we do it only once a month and not like every other week.
See, I could do this every day because I want it to live on so much. Like every time that we start talking about it at Jamie's house, I'm just
don't get us wrong. Like Josh and I want this to live on, and
it's just so damaging to our
it's
bodies.
Kind,
and souls.
Definitely.
It's kind of the fact that afterwards, when we're done, you realize that like we talked about how magical it is, but then it really sets in like
it's
this
over.
is
well, there's always Pottermore.
Pottermore, but like, does anybody go on Pottermore?
No.
I was really excited.
It's still up.
Once I got my wand in house, I was done.
See,
I know that you can go on PS3
books.
now.
What?
Really?
Oh,
you can
that's
go on,
right.
you can go to
Sony.
You can go into Diagon Alley too on PlayStation Home.
That's so
and
cool.
Hogwarts. I think they're developing Hogwarts for it too.
Yeah.
But anyway,
awesome.
Let's try
back to the first book.
We can get back to the
some
first.
content.
Some of the sound thingies look like birdies.
Okay. I have a trivia question that I'm going to ask everyone who listens, and nobody answer it because I want them to answer it.
Okay.
I know exactly what
Yeah,
it is.
you do, and I guarantee Jake knows what this trivia
Oh, fuck
question
you!
is.
I know exactly what this is.
How did Professor Quirrell acquire his turban? None of you get to answer.
We all
You
know
have to
it.
answer in the
I knew
comments.
exactly
Answer in the comments on Facebook.
In the form of a question.
Tumblr, something.
I'm going to bring that back at the end of the podcast right before the mod of the week.
Yeah. All
Alright, so
Do you
if
have
we're
a mod of
getting
the
I
week?
do have a mod of the
Okay,
week.
cool.
And it's Harry Potter themed.
Oh, look at you being all prepared and shit.
By prepared, I mean I did this in the first 3 minutes when we were recording.
Oh,
Proud
nice.
of you.
That's about as prepared as it gets.
Proud of you.
Yeah.
Alright.
The first book, like I said, nice.
Thank you.
Thanks, Maxwell. 10 points. Woo!
10 points to Hufflepuff.
You're a Hufflepuff?
It kind of engrossed me. Oh,
I'm a
yeah, before we
particularly
even
good
start.
fan.
Okay, yeah.
Wind up. Wind back up for a second.
We got to do this every time we have a new people on our Pottercast. Okay, we got to introduce what house is in.
Right.
So I'll just remind everyone, I'm in Gryffindor. Josh.
That would be Jake. Josh is also in Gryffindor.
Max is in Hufflepuff because who knows what the hell I am,
I'm just
except
gonna-
a particularly good finder.
I'm going to take a really blind shot in the dark here and guess that...
I'm gonna be wrong though, because I'm not in Slytherin.
I'm guessing
Ravenclaw
Nikki's
then?
Ravenclaw.
I am Ravenclaw. Well, do you guys remember
That would've been my
Harry
second
Potter
guess.
Club?
Yeah, we did have a
When-
Harry Potter club in our high school because our high school beat
fucking
yours.
I'm just going to say I was a prefect. And head boy in my Gryffindor.
Head of house!
But
I was the one who always stopped one of the Hufflepuff prefect from doing her job.
well,
That
everyone
explains
was so
everything.
shocked that I wasn't in Slytherin, and
Yeah.
honestly, I was upset at first. But then you get to know your house, and
And it's
the more
kinda
I got
awesome.
to know Ravenclaw, the more it's yeah, this is definitely.
I got really
who I
angered
am.
when I
But
wasn't put
the
in
more you know
Ravenclaw.
Nikki, the more you realize that,
It does.
Yeah,
change.
I'm
a-
a cold-hearted bitch, but at the same time, if you're in trouble, I'm not gonna be like, ha, fuck you. I'm gonna come and be like, okay,
Who's
I'm gonna
causing
help
trouble?
you.
I'm a bitch.
I'm not gonna be happy about it, but I'm not gonna let you die.
Unless there's another Slytherin there.
I just
No,
want
see, that wouldn't bother me, though.
before we go any
Because
further,
then
I'm
you
just
get to
going
prepare for trouble.
to let you guys know, or the listeners know, if you haven't yet, might want to turn down the volume a little bit because we have some really loud.
We have
talkers.
3 loud people and one person who's just kind of like, "Hey guys!" I start to say, "Guys."
I'm
That's
here.
me.
I'm here.
Yeah, that's Max.
Yay!
I just remember when all 3 of us were in that play together. We were writing all that Harry Potter fan fiction, and that's when like the whole "my dad is Voldemort" thing came into play.
That was hilarious.
And that's another reason why people were so shocked that I wasn't
because your dad is
sorted into
Voldemort.
Slytherin.
I mean,
But that kind of like made it interesting for the fan fiction I was writing, but that died so long ago.
Jake's lived and finished it. But anyway,
You finished it?
Yeah, I finished it.
Oh my god.
Yep. It's 50 plus pages, I think.
Email it to me.
I don't have
It's
it.
not
It's
written.
I have it written down.
anyway, back to
Dude.
the podcast.
Yeah, back on topic. If they ever get there.
You started that like my sophomore year.
Yeah, I did.
But
Japanese
back to the
class.
podcast.
Fuck you and your podcast, Josh.
Whoa.
So, what did you guys think the first time that Malfoy
freezing.
was introduced? The little greasy kid in Madame
Malfoy? I just kind of
Malfoy's
wanted
shop.
I wanted to pinch his cheeks until they ruptured.
He was that. I don't know. There was a lot of kids in my school that kind of reminded me of that, of the snotty little.
Was
brat.
I one of them, Jake?
We never went to the same elementary school.
I don't
All right.
care.
But like that
I
rich
wanted-
kid who knew they were rich and they wanted to rub
They
it in your
like
face.
to
Hello,
brag
Conrad.
about it.
His hair
and-
was so
Conrad was
greasy, I
never
wanted
like
to
that in
throw him in a
elementary
shower.
school.
I just wanted to throw him in the shower with some shampoo, tell him to
Oh my
wash
god,
the
Nick
grease and shit
Higgin
out
in
of his hair.
elementary school.
You want to focus more on the podcast right now?
That would be the Malfoy I was talking about for?
Oh,
yeah,
gotcha.
yeah.
Where
That's
are
my
you,
older cousin.
Jake?
I'm trying to focus on the podcast right now, but I can't.
Wait,
I can't pinpoint
there's a
some.
podcast going off? What?
Oh,
Shut
this
the fuck
is
up, Max.
This is going to hell right now. I can't remember a Draco Malfoy like character from my elementary school that like really stuck out. I knew there were kids like that.
There were
around,
girls, lots
but
of girls.
I
but-
never like. I made sure never to really hang in that kind of crowd because like even at a young
Same with
age,
Harry.
even at a young age, I was like, I don't
People
want
are dicks.
Yeah, I don't. These people seem mean, and I just want to have fun on the playground and like play kickball. And
And,
My
like-
mommy told me to stay away from mean people.
yep,
I guess
pretty much.
coming from Harry's, like, he was raised as a muggle, and then people like Malfoy coming up to him and saying Muggle-borns are scum, and like that's
Punch
like,
him in the throat.
well,
Yeah.
that's all Harry's ever known, so he's
It's
not
the
going to be
Muggle
like, "Hey,
world.
fuck you, Muggles," because
Yeah,
Exactly.
That doesn't
Well,
make any sense
well,
to-
he might because of how hardcore of the Muggle family was with. Hated him.
yeah, that's true, but still,
Yep.
like,
I think that's another reason why he didn't like Malfoy off the bat is because he's got a Dursley-esque like feel
Attitude.
to him,
Yeah,
an
like,
attitude where he
that
feels
pompous.
very pompous,
feel.
feels like he's better than everyone. Very like the Dursleys and the Malfoys. There's
Are fairly similar.
they're fairly similar.
They're parallels of opposite sides of the spectrum.
They're
Yeah.
character foils.
Mhm,
Yeah, that's what they're called.
exactly.
and I want
Future
to eat
English
them.
teacher.
But
They
yeah,
they juxtapose them. That's a fancy word I learned in English this year.
This. What
Really?
are you in?
He was a
Just
senior.
graduated.
He
And
graduated.
You just
fool.
learned what juxtaposition
Hey,
is.
hey,
It's not my
Jesus
fault how
Christ.
Christy's dumb.
hey, guys,
I will
focus.
mute you. Okay.
If I'm saying focus, shit's bad.
yeah, you know it's bad.
I
But-
forgot my meds.
Anyway, I think that was the big red flag for Harry is that he was able to relate to Malfoy and the Dursleys as kind of the same kind of people,
Yeah.
and throw them in the same group of just pompous people who like think they're better than everyone and who really wants to hang out with that
And
type
when
of
you
person.
live
Right?
under the stairs for so long, you definitely don't feel like you're better than anybody.
It kind of
True.
it'll come up in the next one when we talk about book 2, but Dobby and Harry kind of have relatable points in their life because
Character foils.
in all fairness,
Slightly.
Harry wasn't treated much better than a house elf by the
Oh,
Dursleys.
definitely not.
No.
I think the reason that he was not so... He didn't think he was better than anybody wasn't... It wasn't because he was kept under the stairs and stuff. It was because psychologically, after some time when you had been conditioned to it, you start believing that you deserve that.
Yes.
So,
Even
I can
even
relate
if
to
you
that.
don't, but yeah,
like Harry.
Yeah.
So I think that may have played a role. I mean, who knows?
Mm-hmm. Like if he was raised up by actual wizard parents and he was raised up in the wizarding world, who knows where he would have landed in the whole being friends with Malfoy spectrum.
Yeah, but if his
Almost.
parents still lived, he would not have been friends with Malfoy.
I don't think he would have been friends with Ron either.
No, because
It might have.
There's never any kind of mention of the Potters and the Weasleys being connected, family friend wise.
But I don't know.
But yes, they were.
Were they?
Because remember how all pure blood families are kind of like not so much a family tree as it is like a family spider web. James and Sirius were best friends.
Yes.
And the Blacks and the Weasleys are related.
Because they're both pure blood.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I
remember Sirius was one of the two good ones.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that the Potters and the Weasleys were friends after, or
yes, because both Molly and Arthur were members of the Order. Because Voldemort would still be around if his.
Yeah, but you could have been in the Order and still like you guys know each other.
That was a pretty small group though. I think there's a good chance that they would.
I'd say a solid. I'd say at least a solid 70% chance.
They were trusted each other.
Yeah.
But I'd give it a 65 to 70% chance they would have been
70 solid.
Okay, but all right. And I'm sure
take a kid to work day at the Order of the Phoenix would have happened.
Or I'm sure like if a kid was born while people were still in the Order, they announced it. So okay. So I guess there's a good chance.
Hermione, on the other hand,
but that was by chance. Yes. That was purely by chance.
And then I get to bring up one of my favorite theories.
What?
Oh, jeez.
Remember how Hermione was the only reason that she even got friends at Hogwarts was because of the troll?
Yes.
Yeah, you remember this theory. I think I brought it up last time. But, okay, imagine if Hermione, who's a stickler for the rules, for doing everything right the first time, 100%, she goes through Hogwarts without having any friends, and everybody's constantly making fun of her.
Mm-hmm.
She becomes Dolores Umbridge.
No, that makes me want to cry.
Are you saying that if maybe for some reason Ron, and Harry didn't become friends, she becomes Dolores Umbridge?
Not literally, but
exactly.
So
someone a lot like her.
I could definitely see that.
So you're implying that Jake's wife would turn into Satan?
Yup.
See, I think everybody wanted Umbridge dead more than they wanted Voldemort dead.
Yeah, we talked about that too. That overall,
everyone hated the tiny woman in pink.
Yeah,
I mean,
their teachers,
the Death Eaters and the Order, everyone can come together. All the fans can come together and say, "Kill this bitch."
I definitely think that she was genuinely hated more than Voldemort.
It really sucks because the actress that played her was such a sweet person.
She is a sweet person.
See, every movie I've seen her in, she's a giant bitch.
Yeah,
she has the right stage presence for her.
Yeah.
She does command like that presence. But anyway, back to the first fucking movie.
Well, what I was gonna say is it's surprising how Harry. Well, when we first are introduced to Ron, Harry's sitting alone. I'm pretty sure he's used to sitting alone at school functions by now. But this kid comes up and says, "Can I sit here?" I mean, if that were me, I would have been like, "No, find somewhere else to sit. I like being alone."
No. I think Harry was more accepting of Ron being let on or coming into the cabin and sharing a cabin with him. Because if it wasn't for Ron's family, he wouldn't have gotten on the train in the first place.
Yeah.
That's true, too.
And so he recognized that he's like, hey, this is that
this
kid
kid's a redhead. He must be a Weasley.
Yeah, even though
he must not have a soul.
But no, I'm sure when he knocked on the door, Harry was like, okay, this guy helped me out. His family really helped me out. I mean, yeah, he could be.
Well, it just shows a lot about Harry's character. And
oh my God, Harry Potter's the original Pay It Forward.
He might have been.
Possibly.
Who knows?
But the thing is, though, I'm going to be thinking about, if Harry didn't meet these people. I'm going to draw parallels from, if Harry was actually raised by his family or if he wasn't. With him not being raised. I feel like, no matter what, if Ron's family hadn't helped Harry might have Harry would have been accepting to Ron being...
Accepting, even if not friends.
I think he would have been like, okay, fine, yeah, this kid come sit with me. And then once he found out more about Ron, he would have decided, you know what, I could be friends with this guy, or I could just be acquaintances with him.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say something about that.
I would think that's the longest period we've been quiet was
2
3/4 of a second.
You even unplugged. That's hilarious.
Do we want to stop it?
No.
All right. Sorry about that. Phone's ringing upstairs. Making sure
Screw you, phone.
Stop it. But
go away. No one's home.
I feel like if Harry's parents still lived, Sirius would still live and not be in trouble. And then he would have had a kid, possibly, and, that kid, then it would have just been James and Sirius again. I feel like if Harry's parents still lived, Harry would have been even more of a little shit than he already was. Because, preference here, Harry is not my favorite character by any means.
Yeah, same.
I would say he's not my favorite either.
He's not my favorite, but he was kind of important.
Yeah, just a little
he's
bit.
important, but at the same time, I want to punch him in the face more than I don't.
I think that he wouldn't have been a little shit if his parents were alive. Because I feel like
his parents weren't like that.
But his dad,
his dad was
a prankster, and he was a little bit malicious at times, but he was a good guy, and he matured
overall
because of Lily.
Because of Lily, I'm sure the fact that when he found out Lily was pregnant, he realized that like, hey, I gotta
he had to mature right
man up.
I gotta get my act
Cowboy
right
up,
I gotta man up and all that. So yeah, I'm sure James would have been a great father figure and a great role model as to being like, yeah, he tells funny stories about his days back or his prank days back at Hogwarts,
which to be fair would probably make Harry feel like, oh, I have a legacy.
It's okay.
Well, not necessarily that it's okay.
Because like my dad and my mom both did crazy ass shit, so I'm like, well, I want to be like my parents and do crazy ass shit, so I can tell my kids about it.
My dad did sports and told me about it. Look at me.
My dad was the captain of every varsity sport he did, and got out of high school with a 3.9 GPA.
My dad drove a motorcycle through Sumner High School.
Nice.
Your dad is a legend.
Oh, he
I
is.
love him.
But
if you would have asked Mr. Anderson, he retired my freshman year, but our old art teacher, he would have told you that story.
Mm-hmm. I know Mr.
Mr.
Anderson.
Anderson started teaching when my dad was in high school.
I feel like James would have told Harry about his past and like told good stories, but I feel like he would have pressed more of what
do as I say,
growing
not
up,
as I do.
Growing up as being a man and being mature. I feel like he would have raised Harry to go along that straighter path of being a good non-prankster kid.
I just had a weird thought.
Yes.
What would Severus be like to Harry if his parents were still alive?
Yeah, I think he'd be worse.
I definitely agree.
Well, part of me thinks that, but then part of me thinks that he would.
Fried chicken sounds good.
James would hear about it, and James would be like, "Okay, Severus, your shit is with me."
Be like the time my dad yelled at Gallagher.
If you want to fight about it,
fight me.
Bring it to me.
Yeah.
Don't treat my kid like shit because of that.
I still feel like
Harry's
even after
first year
that
would have been 10 times worse.
I also feel as though Lily would hear about it and try and talk to Severus about it.
I feel like
bringing
at
some
that
of the heat
point,
off of it
Severus
as well
wouldn't
because
give a shit.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I think he would still.
I think Severus would give a shit when Lily started talking to him about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but it's...
I'm a jealous person.
It's really debatable and up in the air. I feel like no matter what, Snape would have treated Harry way worse because not only are his parents... Like, it would just fuel his jealousy even more because his parents are still alive.
I mean, at least in the actual non-hypothetical book series,
yeah.
Lily is dead and he is mourning that. So it's like he's tossed up between, fuck you, you look exactly like James, but then he looks in Harry's eyes and sees Lily, and that just causes him more pain, which I think is fuel to the fire of why Severus was so cruel to Harry, because it's the person he hated most mixed with the person he loves the most.
And a constant reminder that the person he loved so much is dead.
But in that aspect, he's like, yeah, this kid, I hate this kid, and he's the embodiment of what I could have had. But since his parents are dead, I can't treat him like that much. But if his parents are alive, it's like, wow, this is what I could have had, and your parents are happy right now. You're happy right now.
Fuck you.
I'm not happy right now, so you're not going to be
happy. On the other hand, okay, so let's say he keeps going down that path of being... It'd probably accelerate as Harry got older, too.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to happen when Dumbledore finally hears about how fucked up it's been?
With Snape?
Yeah.
I feel like Dumbledore would hear very early on.
Yes.
But at the same time...
Dumbledore knows all.
I think Dumbledore would, he'd hear about it, let it go a little bit, make sure it's not just something in Harry's head, and then he'd start hearing about it from James and Lily being like, okay, Severus is being really fucked up, and then he'd talk to Severus, and then after, if it kept happening, he'd do something about it.
Okay.
Well, I have a thought. If Harry's parents are still alive, is Voldemort active? And if so, Dumbledore probably wouldn't take Harry into so much consideration.
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah, because the entire reason that Harry was so special was that
he was the boy who lived.
But if he's not, and he's just a boy...
Now let's say the prophecy went the other way, and that it was Neville's life that changed.
Ooh.
I love
that. Would be so Interesting.
It'd be weird.
I'm imagining any of the first 3 books with Neville as the chosen one because of all the stuff.
But
that
he'd
Neville,
eventually step
fucks
up, and he does step up.
I'm awesome.
I think
10,000
the
points
end
for
result
Gryffindor.
would be the same end result as we already had.
You think just essentially a different storyline? But the thing is, though,
And with
It'd
more
probably be a little
infomercial
more
moments.
goofy and probably a little more heart
and there's
wrenching because of Neville and his grandma,
Yeah.
and he
And his
kind of feels
parents.
like shit all the time.
but it wouldn't
And
change.
his parents
It
are
wouldn't.
gone.
It wouldn't change. It wouldn't change the Snape storyline at all. I think Snape would.
Snape would still be a dick to Harry.
Yeah, I think Snape would still be just
would we
brutal.
And we would kind of know who Harry is, as we kind of know who Neville is, because the prophecy was about either of them.
Mm-hmm.
It was all about Voldemort choosing whose parents
one
were
over the
kill.
other.
Yeah.
And I mean, Neville's parents are already fucked up anyway because of Bellatrix.
Fuck you, Bellatrix.
So
Oh, I
likes
love
you.
you.
it's funny that Neville turned out the way he did because it could have gone either way.
Yeah. How do you think his in this whole parallel universe we're talking about? How do you think his first year at Hogwarts would have gone?
Just like
Like, if
Harry's,
he
but with
were
more
the chosen
infomercial
one-
moments.
How do you? What did you say?
Yeah,
Just like
yeah,
Harry,
but
just
more-
like more infomercial moments.
Like
Where,
that,
where he done fucks everything up.
Oh, the Toad.
Oh, Trevor.
Trevor.
Whatever hap-
We need to
whatever
make a
happened-
Trevor fan
I feel like
page.
Neville might have
Trevor!
stepped on Trevor at one point. That was the end.
It's
Yeah,
just
we-
never-
That I
never
think
really
is the most
heard-
heartbreaking thing I've heard in the past 3 days.
it's just never mentioned.
And I just heard a theory as to why Pokemon evolve when you trade them, and it's because they think you don't love them anymore.
Oh,
How can we
jeez.
get on Pokemon? No Pokemon.
Yeah, we can't get off Pokemon.
I'm comparing the levels of depressing and heartbreaking.
Okay, back to book one, where we'll probably still be making these
Well, here's some
parallel
actual
universes.
content.
Yes.
Oh God, content. What?
Content.
I want to talk about Quirrell.
Yes.
Ah!
We only get to see Quirrell this one time because, well,
Under the table.
Max, why are you under the table?
Why not?
Max, get up from underneath the table.
but you only see
You're not my
Quirrell
mom.
once because
We're not your
obviously,
supervisor?
as you know, he comes to quite a dusty end.
Spoiler!
But
Rip shot.
That's a little late on the
how does
spoiler.
this sweet,
Nikki's casual.
sensitive teacher get sucked into this?
Because he
That's
wasn't very
true.
Because
sweet.
he's a dick.
You think?
Because at the beginning, remember, he wasn't very quiet and sweet and shy. Because Hagrid mentions that he wasn't like that before he went on his travels, where he met Voldemort. I'm assuming that he pulled a Faust and had. That's my phone, Jake. Why would you
Oh,
do that?
It blinked.
But I think he had a Faust moment where Voldemort promised him information,
Really?
Information
And for-
on what specifically?
probably of
What could-
something to do with handling dark creatures. Because after all, he did have the job at Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher.
Yeah.
He had it. He hadn't taught there yet, but he had the job, so he was going around to learn more.
I forget if it said. Did it say anything about his personality before he was?
Hagrid spoke a little.
Hagrid mentioned a couple
Hagrid
things.
Was he
He was
always
a
that
timid guy.
stuttery, timid
No,
guy?
that's one of the things he mentioned. He
Okay.
says, "Oh yeah, for example, I know for a fact he mentioned the stutter specifically." So,
Yeah.
didn't happen before he went traveling.
He did mention
Okay.
he was a timid guy, though.
All right.
A little bit.
Yeah, because he
He said the
Just
stutter was new, but he was a timid guy.
Quirrell to me seems like he would have been a very sweet and very influential.
He'd be one of those teachers
Not
that students get taken
influential,
advantage
but-
of.
easily influenced. So like if you were like, oh hey, this F can
Yeah.
be turned into maybe a C minus.
Yeah.
And then he'd
So,
be like, oh,
Miss Street.
okay. And that's why Voldemort
He'd
probably
be-
could have
yeah.
just easily influenced him and be like, you're gonna do this now.
Not to mention, I
Yeah.
guarantee you, Voldemort has Jedi mind tricks.
Probably.
well, Occlumency and Imperio.
No.
Yeah. So
Crucio.
he did use the Imperious Curse on Voldemort, right? Or did?
Or-
Quirrell?
Yeah.
No, he just appealed to Quirrell's sense of greed.
Oh, okay.
Well, I
And
mean,
so-
when you're easily taken advantage of.
Voldy mind tricks. Go.
Yeah. So that is kind of interesting. I really didn't know. I never really thought about that before either. I was like, well,
Well,
how did
'cause the
Quirrell get in
whole
this
time-
situation?
When you're reading that book, you think it's Snape the whole time, and when you find out it's this
But
Plot
Snape's
twist.
Snape's a red herring.
Professor Quirrell, you're
Yeah.
like, wait, what?
I like
And
that.
then,
I like that you worked a quote in there.
Yeah,
Gotta
but
love
that
plot
also.
twist.
So was the stutter an act the whole year? Because
Clearly.
as soon as he gets in front, as soon as he meets
Yeah,
Harry in
because
front of the
when
mirror,
they're in the
He get-
whatever
he
you
drops
wanna
it.
call Yeah.
Drops it like a bad habit.
but if he picks up the stutter before the year starts, or
Why pick up a stutter?
yeah,
though?
why pick up a stutter? Like,
maybe it was like a
Theory.
silent cry for help.
Theory.
what?
He may have legitimately had the stutter, but also in rejuvenating Voldemort through Unicorn's blood, that might have cured his stutter as well.
Oh, that's an interesting
My
theory.
my theory is more along the lines of clearly he had a plan. Because he uses the phrase, they all think it's Professor Snape, when it was really it's the stuttering Professor Quirrell.
He's trying to seem innocent.
Yeah, I think it was, he got Voldemort, and then he's like, okay, well, Voldemort's like, okay, so shit's going down, and I need you to do this shit. And he's like, okay, well, how can I make myself seem less of a suspect? If I seem more sweet, innocent, and I bring something to the table to make me seem a little more innocent, a little more vulnerable, I'm not going to be a suspect.
If he was always kind of a nice, timid guy before, like, why would he become suspect? Why put on a stutter to throw everyone off?
Because he knows that he feels guilty, so he's going to try.
It's overcompensation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
And he had the greatest excuse in the world to develop a stutter. He just traveled the world looking for dark creatures.
Yeah.
Like, something could have happened. He could have been
So something very
emotionally scarred.
traumatizing.
I think the reason they gave in the books was a run-in with a vampire.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Oh, yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's just... I've never got
why. A lot
why.
of stutters come on, though, because, like, if you've seen Polly, she falls off the roof and gets a stutter.
Mm-hmm.
I've known people who something bad has happened to them, little,
The
and
trauma.
now they have a stutter.
Mm-hmm.
It's an effect of trauma.
It's a very
Okay.
common symptom for PTSD.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. And then...
And being attacked by a vampire is probably going to give you
Well,
something akin to that.
Not
That's-
just
that's
that, but
pretty
also
bad.
becoming possessed and becoming one with the world's darkest wizard.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, you might develop something like
And
that.
in this world, you can't simply unbind vampires so they can't hurt you.
Oh,
You're welcome, Josh.
we need Atticus. Okay, that was a shout out to the Iron Druid Chronicles and its author Kevin Hearn. If you
So
haven't,
good.
if you haven't read them, do it. It's like
Porn for the mind.
Sidebar!
no, it's more like an adult version of Harry Potter. That's how awesome it is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's what I would compare it to.
Way to kind of bring it full circle.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like that.
but and it's more about druids, which is more my shtick.
Back to stuff I know about.
Yes, right?
Bringing it back.
But how do you think it felt to you? Were you curious as to why Quirrell knew that there was a troll in the dungeon? Why was Quirrell not at the Halloween feast?
Yeah, that was called I think it's called fridge logic.
Mm-hmm.
It's where you just kind of take it as is in the moment, and then later, like the idea is later you get something to eat. It's like, holy shit, I see a plot hole.
But he could have used the excuse that maybe he was grading papers in his office. Like,
Well,
it never
that's true.
says exactly where his office is. If you watch
True,
you
yeah.
watch the movie, it's not the typical room that...
He could have been
No,
done
he doesn't
sabotaging
use-
Snape.
Every
Yeah.
time.
Well,
So
that's
I-
exactly what he was doing.
Yeah, I
But
imagine there's always that possibility that classrooms moved, or where do teachers sleep? He could have been in his his sleeping quarters grading papers there.
he keeps the teachers in the dungeon. Oh,
It could be one place.
Second game for
Harry Potter.
Game Boy Color.
Mhm.
no.
It gives you a good feel of Hogwarts. I mean, as much as an 8-bit piece of shit game
I was
can.
16-bit, thank you
But-
very much.
True. Anyway, you know what I mean, though. Like,
Yeah.
it's two-dimensional, whatever.
As much as a video game,
But,
as
like,
a video game can in
Their
regards to a book.
bedrooms were always really close to their classrooms,
Yeah.
and it was an office/bedroom. But did Quirrell stay in the specified?
Yeah, he could have rather preferred. Say he went to say on these travels, he found something like he said. He found some dark stuff that really kind of traumatized him.
Really
Maybe
don't
he doesn't want to be in that social aspect, so maybe he asked for a more secluded area to sleep in.
Or there's
Which
also
would make sense because you got the fucking Dark Lord on the back of your head.
Yeah.
and there's also another theory that nobody's mentioned about why I knew there was a troll in the dungeon.
Why?
He was out taking a walk.
That's true, but why?
I'm sure, especially someone
Yeah,
as
but
we've
who's
mentioned.
just like, oh, there's a feast. I'm gonna go for a walk.
Well, no,
in the dungeons.
no, because
walked off that stuff you just ate.
Yeah.
well, no, because remember he rushed in about halfway through the feast, which means he wasn't there at the beginning.
Because,
So
Because
could've-
he was
so
letting a
Dark
troll
Lord
in.
wants to
Well, right, but theoretically, he could have just been taking a walk around the school.
Mm-hmm.
Like I did that at in high school all the time. After classes, I just walk around the school.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I did that too.
Maybe he was running security.
I did that.
Well,
in
it is
class.
Halloween, like.
Well, I imagine.
Friend George, damn it!
I
Only in a time
imagine.
of pranks and mischievous creatures. coming
Exactly.
out
Well,
of
at
the
all
way.
times, I imagine there was some kind of because at night too there was that curfew. There was the curfew that was like enforced.
Mandatory.
Yeah.
Maybe during the Great Feast there wasn't supposed to be kids out in the halls or
Okay,
wandering
so, yeah.
to school.
Well, maybe
and so
like
I imagine
every teacher took a round, and maybe that's why they were like, whatever, he's just on his round.
because
Troll!
if he's busting into
Troll
if he's
in the
busting in the middle of a feast yelling about how there's a troll in the dungeon.
That's
Why-
also going to make
like,
you
that's
look
gonna-
innocent, like, oh my god, I'm screaming my face off.
Well,
It
not
wasn't
just that,
me.
but it's
And then
it's also
he
gonna look somewhat
thinks
suspicious.
it's
Like, why the hell was he in the dungeons? So
I
like, this guy,
guarantee you
this,
kids went to the dungeons to do
Especially
stupid
on
shit.
Halloween. I know I would do something stupid.
I know you would do something
I
stupid
broke
like
into
that.
sexy
a house
time.
on Halloween this year.
Reasons that we don't hang out with her that much.
Well, it's that old movie set down on...
I know. I was
Yeah.
kidding.
Oh, I like that
But
place.
what I really enjoy is how in depth we're getting about his cover story.
no, I mean,
Well, it's an interesting
well,
thing.
yes,
how we
because
roll.
how did you not think about that? Like, how does that not hit you in the face? Like, why the hell wasn't Quirrell in the feast with everyone?
It just didn't.
While Snape was there too. Snape
Yeah.
was there, so which
The
makes him
other-
less suspicious.
The other fridge brilliance moment, which is okay.
He'll bring it full circle.
No,
He'll
no,
bring
no,
it
I'm
full circle.
letting
Okay,
you...
fridge brilliant. Okay, there's fridge logic and then the fridge brilliance, which is like, oh shit, there's a plot hole, and then you realize, oh no, there wasn't.
Yeah.
Is he says there's a troll in the dungeon, but they fight it in the bathroom. At first, I was like, what the hell, Quirrell? Why don't you know where you released the troll? And then I realized he did know where he released the troll. It just moved to the bathroom.
Yeah, well, they're big,
Troll had
so
to
they
go
can make
pee.
pretty big footsteps.
But another question that, like,
But
if
they're
I,
slow as hell.
if I was
Yeah,
if I was
that's
on the staff and I was thinking, why is he running in yelling about a troll if he's the fucking Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher?
Because he's not a care magical creatures teacher.
That'd be Hagrid's job, but it wasn't his
Still
job.
though,
at the
if
time,
you're
actually,
Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, you gotta know spells and you gotta know hexes that will take down pretty much anything.
But-
Which is exactly how he got it in...
But if
the
you're,
school.
but what I'm saying is that if you're on the staff, why aren't you thinking, well, why isn't Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher
Taking care of
Because-
it.
taking care of
Instead
it?
of running in and being
I
like, oh
think-
shit, guys.
I
Yeah.
think
He's a
I have a reason. Okay, in a lot of like folklore and stuff, trolls
yeah.
are highly resistant to magic.
The only things that can really hurt him are fire and acid.
Well,
Because highly
right,
or
regenerative.
my-
getting
my-
smashed on the head with Giant Club.
Right.
Yeah.
My
Right.
point being that
Operation Dick
he probably needed backup
okay.
because
Don't
one
hurt
person
me,
slinging
but I
spells
know
is
you
not
don't
going to take
know.
down a fully grown mountain troll. However,
Yeah.
levitate a club like
a first-year ginger can take him down by
It's-
himself.
Well,
He
that's
has no
just
soul.
like...
it's a case of
You are
overthinking it.
Stupid.
Okay.
left,
Because
though.
how many spells did Harry, Ron, and Hermione know at the time? But okay, how many spells did Harry and Ron know at the time?
-4.
Right.
Something.
So they didn't have an
Leviosa.
opportunity to overthink it.
Leviosa.
Whereas Quirrell would be like thumbing through his library of DADA spells.
What should I do? No,
Yeah.
They're just going to be like, this is all we know, this is all we have to
Do something!
Make it work.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I feel like being a teacher, like Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, you should be quick on your feet and should know how, because everything about the Defense Against the Dark Arts is being quick on your feet and knowing how to duel and knowing how to get out of sticky situations like that, whether it's a troll or something.
That's why I use it with the other theory at the same time of trolls are resistant to magic in most folklore stuff. He's gonna need backup.
He went traveling around the world looking for dark magic and dark things. You don't think he ran into a troll or two?
Maybe.
But at the same
No,
time,
see-
he's also not trying to take it down.
Well, yeah.
But
But we're thinking about it from the
Yeah.
teacher's perspective.
I'm looking at this as like, what?
Well,
Take it
that's
from
the-
McGonagall
I
or Dumbledore, the two smartest witches or the two smartest wizards in that school.
Yeah.
You really think they're not?
McGonagall's such a
You
vampire.
really think they're sitting there afterwards? They're like, well, why didn't he take care of it? Why didn't he make a better effort to fend it off?
I
Why
think that
didn't
might
he?
have been fuel for the rest of the story, though. Because suspicions are, like, growing.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
just not exactly...
What,
clear
Max?
to who.
Max, what do you?
Just talk
well,
over us.
I think. Well, I want to not be rude. Interrupting is rude. And
Have we?
Anyway.
have we really taken into consideration
Okay,
of people
so-
talking?
Shut up. Anyway, my theory as to why they didn't like the teachers didn't like think too much of it that a Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher's freaking out about a troll.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of see where Josh is coming from, but at the same time, I think it's just because they don't think that much of him. Yeah, he traveled the world looking for dark
Yeah.
creatures and ways to defend him, but they really don't take him very seriously. Especially like Snape and probably McGonagall too. They probably don't take him
Yeah.
very seriously because, well, he's Professor fucking Quirrell.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just like, well, He's just a pussy with a stutter.
I
Can't
mean,
do
even
shit.
if you are a Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, if I was, whatever, I'm so magical I can do anything. If I saw a fucking mountain troll in my school,
I'd be
you bet
freaking
I would
the fuck
run
out.
my ass to that fucking Great Hall and be like, hey, I need some help because I can't do this by myself.
The other thing
Fully
I was,
grown mountain troll.
the other thing I was thinking
That
is,
thing's huge.
yeah, I would. Jake, you brought up the fact that he can't take down one mountain troll when he's been looking for dark creatures for a year.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly why he went to get backup because
He knows.
He knows how they
knows
work
more
now.
about them. That and the fact that trolls are not dark creatures. Common misconception. They're not inherently evil, making them not dark creatures.
Like-
they're just
They're
creatures.
just big galumphing idiots.
Yeah, and so it's
Like
not
giants.
something he's going to cover a whole lot. But if he does, it also adds to the fact that shit, anything I throw at this is going to be like a tenth of its actual power. I'm going to go get someone to help out.
Like, his spells will do stuff. It's not like they
Three
would
first
do
years
against
should do it.
Like, his spells will do stuff to it, just probably not as much as they would to, like, a Dementor or, like, Ghost or something. Dark creatures.
I tend to think of it like in Munchkin.
Okay.
There's like, say you're level 4 and you're fighting a level 5 creature. All you need to do is someone step behind you to bump you up to that power.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I viewed it.
And maybe that's the Hermione to the two
Yeah.
boys.
Yeah.
I guess it's true
She's
because if
smarter
it wasn't
than them and she can help them. But
if it wasn't for Hermione, how would Ron and Harry take them out?
and if it weren't for
Um,
Ron being a little dick to Hermione, that troll probably would have walked around for quite some time.
Destroying half the
No,
place.
he would have gone straight to the Great Hall
Been like,
because trolls go for food.
Then he would have been really fucked.
yeah, but then they have an entire school going after
Volley
it.
of
Yeah.
spells.
No.
So now we have
You
a dead
got
mountain
7th
troll.
years and teachers.
Just
all this-
You'll be
Okay,
all
kids,
this-
we're going
and
to teach you
Flitwick,
Expelliarmus
who's the dueling champ.
Oh,
right
yeah,
now.
Flitwick's
All-
awesome.
All this talk about Quirrell and stuff. Did you guys ever suspect him in the book?
No.
No.
I
really did
expect
not.
him for a little bit, but then later
I
I was
never
like, but then later I was like, no, it's not going to be.
Well, I guess
Just-
I can't
yeah,
say
Snape did it.
book for me because I read the book after
Right,
I knew what
but the
happened.
movie.
But when I'm watching the movie, I'm like, oh, he's going to be a good guy. He's going to help Harry. I never
Nope.
expected Snape to be
No, that
the
was a great plot twist.
That's
That was
just
a
that
plot
just kind of
twist.
shows the genius
Like,
of
That
Rowling.
was
When
a plot
you
twist
hear-
worthy of M. Night Shyamalan.
When you hear Quirrell talking about how Snape was muttering his little counter curse, I'm like,
Flag on the play.
whoa. But Snape's what?
So I gotta say I never once did. As usual, Snape was my usual suspect, but I also thought in the back of my head, I was like, there might be someone else in the school doing all this stuff, and like that's when we'll find out
Because
who
it was
is.
totally Dumbledore.
Yes.
What if? Oh my god.
What if that plot twist happened?
What if
Like
Dumbledore was evil?
the most
Well,
respected wizard in the
shit.
world. Oh, by the way, kind of want to bring Voldemort back.
Actually, it was because it's not really Dumbledore. In the duel between Grindelwald and Dumbledore, Grindelwald killed him and then took his identity.
I was just
Polyjuice
gonna say
potion.
something like that.
Yep.
Like,
Polyjuice potion
plot
forever.
twist.
Plot motherfucking twist.
Yeah.
Well, all this cruel talk leads me to the friendship between Ron, Harry, and Hermione, which is pretty
great
much
segue.
the basis of the whole books, is these friends who stay friends even though they go through so much
Go-
shit.
Not to mention
I gotta
the-
admit,
the-
we
the-
started talking about the troll, and I thought this conversation would go in a very different direction, and I'm kind of disappointed.
what direction were you think it was going to go in?
We're talking about a troll, which is in fact a magical creature.
Okay, we're not going
I
to talk
agree.
about care magic.
Yeah, but
creatures.
they didn't have that class in
I
book
know.
1. That's book 3 to 4.
I gotta
I'm
say,
disappointed.
it doesn't seem like a group of people who would be friends with each other.
Exactly. So it
You've
takes
got the tryhard. You've got the kid from a lesser situation.
Woo! And then me.
and then you got the boy who lived who's got all this.
You got the celebrity.
This fame and notoriety, and he
The
doesn't
celebrity,
know
the
a single damn spell.
Exactly.
The celebrity, the tryhard.
How do?
And then the celebrity, the tryhard, and then the youngest of like 8.
This kid who
I
has
think-
like no
Oh
attention
my God.
on him ever.
Well, I think what made them such great friends is they all kind of completed each other. They all
I was just thinking that.
they
Like,
all filled in aspects
Yeah.
that one lacked. Like Hermione was socially awkward and had no idea how to connect with people. Ron and Harry did, but Ron and Harry are a bunch of
slightly
dumbasses.
yeah, but what I was thinking about the troll thing was a good comparison was Harry's the wizard, Hermione's the mind, and Ron was the wand in that case.
Yeah,
All he did was basically point and click.
yeah.
Do the thing! Wand, do it!
Ron, do the thing.
Wand, protect me!
But it takes a a struggle for people who are meant to be friends to realize.
It's like War Buddies.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If you survive a mountain troll attack, you're gonna be friends for life with
Pretty
these people.
much.
I mean, like, people I've been through crazy shit with, we're still friends and we're tight because when you are at an emotional high with somebody and it's fight or flight and you guys fight and win, y'all are gonna be friends for a while.
If you guys
that's the real reason. They're not actually friends for very much longer
like
after the
each other
last
at all.
book. They're just
Take this away from me. I'm having too much fun with it.
Actually, I just always wondered why choose a mountain troll.
Rawr.
Because
I think he wanted it to a point where he would cause a lot of damage, but wouldn't necessarily kill anyone.
Yeah, okay. Because I was going to say, like, a river troll is so much more aggressive.
Well, he wanted to cause fear and panic,
smarter.
but I don't think
he could go get the stone.
Yeah, so he wanted to create a distraction, but he didn't want anybody getting killed.
Yeah.
He wanted something that was like intimidating and scary, but something that could also be easily taken care of by a group of people.
Like he still has that little
like
shred
first
of
years.
He has that little shred of humanity and conscience left.
I don't think it was even that. I think it was to cover his own tracks. Because it'd be a lot worse if a student died because there'd be a lot more security.
And then he'd be
because
he'd never get the stone.
I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm sure Josh does. I'm sure there's a ton of different creatures you can let loose in that school that are way more dangerous than a troll.
Definitely.
Infinitely more.
Throw a giant in there.
Three blast-ended scroots, you're still screwed. I mean, those hurt.
Or an ogre. Or go to the forest and grab Aragog.
Yeah.
Set his family
Hell
loose in the
no!
halls.
Okay, that is the second I'd be like, Hogwarts was nice, but I'm out.
Josh, go jump straight.
I would have I just would have had a heart attack and died.
Bobatons, here I come.
have a heart attack, die,
I'm going to
fall off
Salem.
the main tower, and getting pulverized on impact so the spiders can't eat you.
Oh, if I were dead, I'd go ahead and eat me. I don't care.
But yeah, I think that's a good point. And a good question is why not put something more dangerous in? I think the fact of the matter is that it may not be his shred of dignity. It's just the fact that he wasn't trying to kill anybody. He's just trying to create a distraction.
Well, killing anybody, like Josh said, more security, less of a chance that he is going to get what he needs. Well,
you think that on top of that though, wouldn't you think that if someone unleashed a troll into the school that would add more security, or would you think? First of all, I don't think that's something just a simple student could do. Would be to get a night troll.
Maybe not a simple student, but Fred and George could do it.
I don't think Fred and George could even do it.
I think they could. I don't think they would.
I don't think they would necessarily. Yeah, because they're in for playful mischief, and they're in for playful mischief and just like having fun. This was a lot more dangerous.
Yes. Because mountain trolls would be fairly native to the area. Not as much as forest trolls, but yeah, I mean
there is the forest, but the school's like on a mountain.
It's in a very
forest trolls don't like centaurs.
Yes.
Fun fact.
Does anybody like a centaur?
Umbridge does.
I mean, magical creatures.
We all like centaurs after what happened to Umbridge.
Yes.
Well, yeah. But I'm saying, like...
I feel like centaurs don't even like centaurs.
That's because centaurs are arrogant
Shut
pricks.
The fuck up.
I mean, they don't even get along with each other.
Yeah,
They fight all the time.
Arrogant prick.
So, bringing this back real quick to this just a little question. Back to the stone in the mirror.
Yeah.
How long did it take you guys to figure out what Erised really was?
Last year?
Yeah, I'd say probably my secret.
Yeah.
Mary Kate's the one who told me that Erised was
Whoa!
I want to say my stuff.
Oh my god!
And Max figured it out right now.
I didn't think about it
Wait,
until
did you really just figure it out right now?
He just mentioned it. Did you ever guys really figure out what it was? I'm like, wait, I thought it was just some name of some guy.
Yeah,
and
then
I
thought forever.
And then I thought of it then as, holy fuck, it's desire spelled backwards.
I think it was my sophomore year when someone just like nonchalantly mentioned it. I'm like,
sweet Gandhi's tits. That makes
sense. For Josh here, it was actually pretty quick, but that wasn't because of me. That was because my parents were reading at the same time. My mom pulled it out to me, and I was in first grade, so my mind was it did the thing.
Oh my god!
Great Odin's Raven.
By the beard of Zeus.
But yeah, it just didn't click. It didn't click, and I think there's even illusions about. I think Dumbledore shows what someone most desires.
Yeah,
desires.
Wink, wink.
It's a
That's
clue,
what's going on.
dumbass.
Stab, kill.
There's something important here. I just can't figure out.
no. But
There's meaning behind this name. What could it mean?
oh, here's a question. What would you guys see in the mirror?
I was just gonna ask that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know what I would see.
Boobs. Boobs everywhere.
Yep.
See, I would go with that route and say probably Emma Watson. But
But
I don't know.
honestly, like, your deepest heart's desire, do you even know what that is just yet?
It's
I
more
feel-
of
I
a,
feel
it'd
like
be more
that's
of a
something
subconscious
I feel like
thing.
that's something you don't really figure out till later on in your life.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
you
I
might
mean,
have an inkling.
we're like-
With if you didn't have the help of that mirror, I feel like, well, I think Harry had it figured out pretty hard.
Well,
He
yeah,
knows
I mean-
how he
Harry's
was-
is kind of a gimme.
yeah, it's like, well, he wants to be
wants-
loved.
And
he
Dumbledore
family.
wants
Love.
socks. Grindelwald, his sister.
Yes.
How does socks relate to that?
That's what he told Harry.
It was
he
his
saw.
cover story.
Oh.
Yes.
Personally, I think he's right. Woolen socks are one of the best gifts you can get. I have like 3 pairs.
They're
I
pretty
do-
solid, especially
do-
when you're in a really drafty-ass castle.
I feel like Dumbledore wouldn't have wanted Grindelwald or his sister because they both suffered. His sister suffered a lot, and I feel like once his sister died, he realized that she's not suffering anymore.
Yeah, that's
she's
true.
finally at peace. And with Grindelwald and him being like
Yeah.
how dangerous he can be, not having him
But
around is
if
necessarily
what
a bad
J.K.
thing, but a
Rowling
good thing.
says is true
Josh is about to cry.
Dumbledore's,
Shut up! Josh is
Being-
crying.
I just had a horrible thought.
Of course you did.
What if it's him and Aberforth together with a good bond?
Oh man.
Right through the heart.
You, sir, are a giant dick.
But
This is not even gloom.
has Rowling said anything about what he actually saw in the mirror?
No, I
haven't-
personally don't know that.
I haven't
but
read anything.
It probably
about
says in the Potter Bible.
Possibly.
Could.
But I feel like...
Potteres Requiem.
Well, see, when you're a kid and you hear socks, yeah, that's what you're gonna think he sees. But then you
socks.
read the series and you know about Grindelwald, you know
Teenager
about
hears
his
socks.
sister.
Oh my god, there's a pair of them!
Oh, God.
Grindelwald
And
and his
Aberforth.
sister make 2, and that's a pair of
Oh
socks.
my god.
Well, you know what? That actually kind of works. Because those were the two people
Your
who
ring is
desired
phony.
Yeah,
most
right.
I still
to be
don't.
okay.
I still don't think it was them. I still think that he
I'm thinking
felt-
it's more along the lines
If
of
anything,
Aberforth.
if you saw a sister in there, I think if anything, it was seeing her
Happy.
happy and at peace, and where she was at that moment, and the fact that she was dead and she wasn't suffering, that he was fine with that. And he had made peace with that. I feel like that he didn't see that. He didn't see his sister in the mirror or Grindelwald.
Right.
I felt
He
like
wants to bone Grindelwald.
Yeah, we know.
Jake, your face.
Yes, it is getting hot.
Speaking of that, would you have, if you were Rowling, would you have thrown in the fact that Dumbledore was gay just blatantly into the books?
No.
No, never in the books.
Never.
No.
You don't think so?
It had nothing to do with the plot. There was no need to say it.
Yeah.
That's true.
I
It
mean,
was-
It
for people
completely
like
unrelated
us
and
who are gonna
unnecessary.
dig into every
Mhm.
single fucking word that is in the book, yeah, let's just have this throw us a bone. Come on.
Yeah.
Because somebody's gonna... Come on, guys. Somebody's gonna figure it out
Chronometer.
anyway.
It was a joke.
Anyway,
Even read it that way,
someone's gonna figure it out anyway. Yeah, I mean,
or they're gonna make a fanfic about it.
I'm sure there have been plenty of fanfics
No, I mean,
about it.
even if they
Fan
didn't...
fiction.
sure that I don't want to read them.
Yeah, me neither.
I mean, even if Rowling hadn't said that Dumbledore
Right.
was gay, people still would have been like, we're gonna make these people gay. Because
That's what
people
shippers do.
We all know you've more than a Bogarts in your closet.
We'll probably have a podcast where we talk about shipping and stuff like that.
Woo! Can I be on that one?
The do's, don'ts, and wrongs of it. Yes, you can.
Yeah!
I ship so many.
Remember, viewers, you
So
heard
bad.
that. It was a promise.
Yeah.
It was not a promise. It was a statement.
Anyway, back
A statement
to the,
that will
back
be
to the book.
remembered.
Well, yeah, I kind of feel like it's fine with her not putting it in there, and I always got the reason. People were like, well, why didn't she just throw it in there? I got my reasoning behind her not throwing in the fact that Dumbledore was gay was the fact that at that point, how the book and the target age of that.
Yeah, it would have been too
it would have
weird
been
to grasp.
too confusing and been like, well, and I feel like that would have overtaken the book and the whole meaning
And then
of it.
people would have been like, oh, he's gonna stick it in Harry's butt.
And
you know, stuff like that.
parents would have been more
I know, I wouldn't
along
have
the
been allowed
lines
to
of
read it anymore.
even more because Harry Potter was always a questionable for like hardcore Christian
It
conservative
took my dad
parents.
so long to even be okay with me and my
Yes.
sisters reading it.
Now on top of that, you're dealing with a gay wizard.
Yeah.
My dad would have been like, yeah, no.
Even more parents would have been like, no, you can't read this. And so my theory was always that, like, she didn't throw it into the books because there
was enough there already.
Well, by the time it was acceptable to let everyone know, like, yeah, he's gay, it would have been too late, and there would have been no point in it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, like, if there's no point in saying it, don't flat out say it in the books. But yeah, like,
I mean, we
talk about it
needed
outside
to know
of
before the seventh book.
So
You find out about Grindelwald, and you find so much about Dumbledore's past. She still never says it in the book because it's still not that big of a deal. But still, and it kind of builds him more as a character. But at the same time, it's not entirely necessary.
It always did kind of make me think, though, is the fact that it never mentioned he was married, and then on top of that, it never mentions any of the other staff being married. So, like,
but when you go on Pottermore, then you see, like, McGonagall's love story and how that...
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh,
there's so much stuff on Pottermore that's not in the books, but...
Okay, now I might have to...
Yeah, I'm going to have to get back into Pottermore, because I
got this whole, like, chapter on McGonagall's love story and why it didn't work and why she never married.
Oh, did she have... So she had a love life?
Yes, she
Okay,
did.
that's cool.
That makes me a little sad, because the Banff deserves to be happy.
Yeah, I know. I was wondering, like, is
Such a
McGonagall
badass.
married, and if she is married, how's that at home, and is he...
See, I feel like she's way too independent to have ever actually been
Yeah.
married.
Mhm.
She really is.
Yeah,
But
she
could
is.
still be happy.
She's a strong, independent, cranky woman.
And she don't need no man.
But
She
she
don't
did
need
have
no
one
anything.
at one point.
She what?
She did have one at one point.
Okay.
It just didn't work out.
But yeah, it's just that's always been something in the back of my mind. I've never really felt like bringing it up because it's never seemed important to me. But now that we're kind of talking about,
Yeah, may as well.
like sexual orientation and relationships and stuff like that, like it always made me think, like, well, what did teachers' lives look like outside of the school? And if they were married or if they weren't,
Other than the Mrs. Norris theory, who else here totally shipped the librarian and Filch? Because I definitely did all the time.
I think I'm not alone, and I have no idea what the fuck the Mrs. Norris theory is.
Yeah, what is the
Yeah,
Mrs.
like,
Norris theory?
Okay, I
Norris
read
theory.
it a couple days ago. Now, don't quote me, listeners, because it was a couple days ago. It's not in front of me.
And also it's coming off the internet, so that's
Exactly.
Don't-
It's just a theory
don't
anyway.
take it too literally.
But it was like something along the lines of Mrs. Norris was either someone he loved or his wife or something like that who... Oh, this was what it was. She was a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And he couldn't do magic. She could. She felt bad, so she had a student try to take her magic away, which ended up making her into a cat, and her name was Mrs. Norris,
Yes.
obviously.
Right.
Which
would explain why. Yeah, the
cat-
It explains a lot about... It would explain Filch's bitterness to it.
no. Children specifically, but it happened in the restricted section of the library.
Mm-hmm.
So...
But it also explained why he named this cat Mrs. Norris. Have you ever
Well,
heard anybody...
no,
the
the
theory
idea
was
being that
that
she
this
is
cat
that
was...
Yeah, gotcha.
And because she just won't die. But,
And
but
why he feels so attached to it.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
And it,
I actually, my personal theory
But then
about...
that kind of puts a dark turn on the whole Mrs. Norris thing, because let's say... Okay,
when
but
she
no,
gets...
You said that
time?
she also felt something towards Filch?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was
They
more along
loved
the
each
lines
other.
that, like, he's like... I was like, Jesus,
No,
you're
she
keeping Mrs.
had a
Norris prisoner
student-
now.
No, she had a student turn her
Okay.
into a cat
I
by
gotcha.
accident by trying to take her magic away. But that also leads to why he was like this close to killing Harry when the cat got petrified.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that's an entirely different book, and
see-
we'll talk about that later.
My theory
That's kind of a cool theory. I like that.
I got it off Tumblr, so you'll
Oh,
probably
God.
see it within
Yeah.
the next couple days.
Yeah.
Personally, I think... My theory with Filch and Mrs. Norris is... I've mentioned it before, and
Is this your whole drawing magic from a...
Well, kind of. It's not like... the theory in actuality is that he can't do magic.
Yes.
That was a crazy what if, but
yeah.
I think it's I think it's supposed to be a reference to familiars, because there's
I do like
there's
that.
wizards and witches with pets, and then there's familiars, which are the lore of it is they started in England, the idea of a familiar, and it's the idea that this is part of the witch or wizard's soul.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
Which
if
would
you've
explain
never
a
seen
number
the
of things.
Elvira movie, it goes over familiars.
I've never had.
Elvira!
Mistress
But-
of the Dark. I love
Love
her.
that movie.
But that would explain why he's so attached to Mrs. Norris and how come they can practically communicate telepathically. But that's my own private theory about it. In regards to shipping Filch with Madam Hooch, no, with,
Not Madam
no,
Hooch,
no,
the
no, no,
librarian.
with the librarian.
Miss
Who-
King... No, wait, that was
Don't.
teacher at our school.
Don't. I can't even remember the live.
Google it.
Do
Google.
the interdubs.
Anyway,
Guy
I don't know. I never
always
shipped Filch
did.
with anyone.
I always.
I don't care that
filched
Dumbledore's
them.
gay. I shipped him and McGonagall like.
I always
no
felt
other.
that Filch was asexual.
Even after I found out that McGonagall or that Dumbledore was gay, I was like, I don't care. I still ship them.
I
they
feel
match,
like it was more of a friendship.
they match so perfectly
me.
though.
Bro
Because
TP.
and then
Yeah,
bro
bro
TP.
TP.
what really set it off for me was in the fourth movie at the Yule Ball where they all
Pence.
take their dancing out and Miss Pence,
Pins.
that's it.
Professor, or just Miss.
Yeah, it's Miss. She's
Yeah.
not a
Okay.
professor.
Pins.
But,
Irma,
like,
Pins.
it-
Irma Pins. Jesus Christ, I would be evil too.
Anyway, what really set that shit for me was when hang on, Josh, before you say anything, let me finish this thought.
I always thought that
No!
was Bonnie.
That's what?
Whoa,
I get a picture from the first movie, and I
Dude,
guess,
she's a fox.
Holy, hath.
Holy shit. Anyway, what really set off the whole Dumbledore McGonagall shit for me was at the Yule Ball. We're all dancing and it shows Dumbledore leading McGonagall out to dance. I'm like, oh, they're so perfect together. Dude, do not lie. That's, you know how opposites attract? That's the biggest opposite because she's very stern, very
And
front,
he's
very
he's
just
flamboyant and like existential to a point.
He's soft, like he's
Philosophical.
not soft in the way like he's a pushover, but
No,
he's
but
he handles things in a very calm manner. He's very calm and collected, and McGonagall is stern and collected.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I would love to see an argument between them.
I'd be scared because whenever Dumbledore gets in an argument, I get terrified.
Oh God.
Because he stays so calm.
No, the worst.
Well, like when Harry just fifth book, but when
You
Harry
may
goes
not
in there
like
and just
him.
fucking destroys
He's like
his office.
He's like, I have too much stuff. Go ahead and throw everything.
And I mean, it's not like they don't have charms to fix that.
Yeah.
But still, like if someone just came into my office and was like,
in the movies, the most scared Dumbledore ever was in the fourth movie.
"Did you put your name in the goblet of fire?"
Which is completely wrong.
Yeah, because he's calm about it.
Hey.
He's like, Harry, did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire? And then he's like,
He was never played by Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That's like Bill Cosby. What are you
yeah, but
But
on Tumblr when they there's that post all the
Yeah.
time,
At
and
least
they're
it
like,
wasn't
I'm like,
Batman.
why are you making him sound Scottish though? It's
Did you
like,
put your name in the goblet of fire?
it's like no, he said it calmly. So
But well,
Yeah.
I think it makes sense for him to say it like that too, because he really does. He really cares about Harry a lot, and it would scare him.
Mm-hmm.
And 98% guys I've met when
They care about something.
when we get scared, we get loud and angry.
Yeah.
I don't.
My father does, and it's horrifying.
I think the most terrified of Dumbledore was in the first movie when going back to the troll when everyone's freaking out at dinner and Dumbledore's just really loud, like
Oh yeah, there's that too.
That's the loudest you will ever hear Dumbledore. I'm like, oh my god.
She's about to
Sorry,
be real.
no. There's one other, and it's in the third one. When the Dementors nail Harry on the Quidditch field.
Oh yeah.
Like, you don't
Yeah,
even
definitely.
hear about it until after the fact, and that's what's the worst part.
I know, she's like,
Dumbledore was furious. I've never seen him so angry. I'm just like,
Oh,
and
God.
then the world died.
Emma, could you imagine how angry Dumbledore could,
I guarantee you, there
How
are
much-
like 500 less Dementors in the world now.
like you see, like
Out
you
of
see
fear.
Dumbledore go so much, and you see so little set him off. Even when the people from the Ministry are trying to arrest him, and he's just like, no, I'm just gonna get out of here.
You may not
Yeah,
like him,
and
master,
you may not-
but you got to
you may
admit, Dumbledore's got style.
So this entire time is going to go on the internet. We're not cutting it.
No.
Nope, it looks like
Has
Bird
it
is.
really been an hour?
Yeah, it's been an hour,
We're
10
going
minutes.
on Raw.
This is
And
how we
people
do it.
listen to these.
Yes, people listen to these.
Aw, skeet,
I have no
skeet,
patience.
motherfucker. Aw, skeet,
Okay,
skeet.
so
Goddamn.
speaking of
Josh, do the funny face.
Dementors and on a Quidditch field, can we talk about Quidditch?
Guys, look at
Sure.
In the first book, what would you think when...
I'll be right back.
Oh,
Because I have nothing
Wait.
to say about Quidditch anyway.
Go ahead.
witches and wizards actually use brooms, but they play a sport?
It brought a new light because previous to this, whenever you heard about a broom and a witch, it's her mode of transportation. You never hear them think about, well, that they use it for sport. We use cars for transportation, but
We
all around
also kind of use them for a certain sport, but...
all around the
I don't
world they're
count it
used
as
to
a sport.
race and they're used in competitiveness. And so it makes sense though. It's like, okay, well, it just brings a new twist on like, yeah, you can use brooms, but we can also use them for sport too.
Which I think is really interesting. And, like, When you think, oh, witches and wizards, you don't think athletes. But these people are flying around really high, but, like, I don't know, I think it's interesting to see how, oh, Harry's dad was good at Quidditch, you're automatically going to be good at Quidditch. Mm-hmm. It's like the football player dad and the football player's son.
Yeah,
and it brings it makes it feel relatable and normal.
Well, that's what Rowling does, is she makes everything really relatable.
Even though it's so out of reach, but you can still touch it.
You just brought up a good point that I've never thought about before, is the fact that, like, you know, you go to a high school or you go to a college where your dad was an all-star at sports.
Hi, Sumner.
People are going to expect you to be... It would have been different for me. For me, it would have been Newport High School,
actually,
and I would never want to go there.
Mine actually would have been Federal Way, but...
My dad has his name on a couple documents in the trophy cases at Sumner High School.
Oh, does he?
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I never noticed that.
Mine does in their storage, because they can't have everything up, because that's a lot of stuff. My dad's, a lot of his were lost when the school had bad water damage.
Oh, that was terrible.
He had, he had a couple of banners from when his team won baseball state championships.
That's a lot
not
of
state, district.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Because baseball's never won
yes,
state at
not
our
state.
school.
District championships.
Yeah, my dad's is from our
he lost a lot of stuff, but he was the champ.
Yeah, that's just a whole nother level of relating, is the fact that, and I've never thought about before, is that
expectations.
Harry's dad was an all-star Quidditch player. There obviously people were going to be like, oh, he's a Potter. Man,
he can play.
He should be able to play. He should be good.
And he doesn't even know this until,
Hermione
some
kid's
getting his ass kicked and his shit's getting thrown everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm going to go fly as fast as I can and grab it.
Mm-hmm.
And Harry's dad wasn't even a seeker.
No, he was a chaser, wasn't he?
if you watch the movie, you think it's a seeker. But he was not.
He was a chaser.
My favorite line about that.
But that's kind of funny, because that relates to kind of my dad and I. Because my dad was a shortstop and middle infielder for baseball. I played catcher and first base, which is like complete opposite of that.
What my favorite line about Harry in Quidditch in the first one is when McGonagall takes him down to Quirrell's room and says, "Can I borrow wood for a minute?" And Harry's like, "Oh God, am I going to get beat?"
Yeah.
and Oliver Wood comes out just like, "Sup?"
Yeah.
And
I love
Harry's
wood.
like, "Unless it's a very strange school," which, you know, I don't think I'm going to get beat. But real quick, I have a present for my partner on the podcast. It is a book by Kenilworthy Wisp.
Oh my God! I know what this is! It is! Let me see. It's Quidditch of the Ages.
My sister had that book. I had the Magical Creatures book. I actually still have it.
I got both of them at the same time.
My sister did too.
I have my yeah, right. Look who the last person to borrow it was.
Oh my God! This is amazing. Okay, so the first page you flip to, it says property of Hogwarts School Library. It says name of borrower and date due back, and it's got a bunch of Hogwarts Quidditch players on it.
See, that's what
Hermione Granger even borrowed it.
See, I love those.
And Jake will be useless for the rest of the day.
fan fictions we knew pretty much, but it's so
they're not
fun
fan
with those
fictions.
books because in the creature book, it's like Harry, Ron, and Hermione
they're
crashed
notes.
it out and they wrote stuff, and it's like, oh my God!
Take that, Snape.
Right?
Kappa, the Kappa.
Oh yeah,
is a Japanese water demon, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah. It's that one word, Chinese and Japanese. I can never go. It's this one. And
Well,
like, shit.
Technically, it's in both, but it's only called the Kappa in Japanese.
Right.
It exists in the Chinese.
Or like when the
but it's called something
basilisk and
different.
stuff, and they're like, to your knowledge. And
Yeah,
it's
right.
Like, you guys!
This brought up a really good point, because I'm looking at a page and it said the Quidditch post used to be baskets. Who the fuck collects the quaffle once it goes through the damn hoop?
Someone who's not playing.
Who?
Pretty much gone.
Well, they're on a broom, so it's not like you gotta walk over there. The
besides,
ref is on a broom.
I'm
they
sure
can
she
zoom
probably
around.
used Accio too.
Yeah,
Or
that's true.
no, there have been spells that are what are they?
I just love that it's called the quaffle.
But no, but
Quaffle.
no, but there are spells that I cannot think of it. But there are a couple of them. Molly Weasley used one where it's someone. This is way digging deep in my memory because I haven't read this in forever. Was throwing shit at a door and it was zoom back. Son of a bitch! It's gonna drive me nuts now.
Google it.
Anyway,
Yeah, what am I going to Google there?
Okay, no. Google is amazing. One time, I Google search image for this thing called a Dharma. I didn't know it was called a Dharma yet, so I was like, creepy red guy with a mustache and one eye. And I found what I was looking for. So...
You'd be surprised how vague you can be on Google and still get what you find.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what I was...
Now on Quidditch to the Ages.
I can't remember what I was trying to find, but I typed in something along the lines of...
Chudley Cannons.
No, the Chudley Cannons. Some creepy, like, 4 legs, has armor, and, like... Because I couldn't, for the life of me, I could not remember what the fuck it was. Mm-hmm. Probably a picture of an armadillo, and I'm like, that's what it was!
That's what it is!
Creepy as hell with armor.
But, back to the Chudley Cannons. Have you heard the Dudley Cho theory?
No.
Of them getting married?
Dudley and Cho Chang, like Dudley Vernon.
Yes.
What the fuck?
Dudley Dursley!
Listen, hear me out. It's rumored that Dudley married a wizard. Apparently... Chudley is supposed to be the shipment.
Like an illusion?
It's an illusion and foreshadow to Cho and Dudley. It'd be their ship name. And everyone's like, oh, that means he married Cho Chang. They had a kid. And I'm like, you guys are fucking retarded if you think that's true. Like, no.
I wouldn't be surprised if he married someone of magical descent, but I don't think that'd be Cho. Like, she would not marry someone like him.
No, she wouldn't. I don't think she would.
Probably still be way too hung up on Cedric to marry anybody.
But yeah, I was like, people. That's the whole Chudley Cannons theory, is that it's an allusion to the ship of Chudley and Cho, and I'm like, that's just stupid. You should feel bad about yourself.
Right, by the way, sorry, a quick side note. Him saying Dudley Dursley reminded me. Maybe have a quick moment of silence for Vernon Dursley.
Oh, Richard.
Yes. For you, those who are listening, don't know. What was his name again?
Richard Griffiths.
Yeah.
Richard. He's the man who played Vernon Dursley. On top of that, he was a great actor. He was in a ton of movies I loved. He passed away a little bit ago, and
about a month and a half.
Surgical complications.
Yeah, and so it's it's kind of a hit towards the whole Harry Potter community, and what was
many different communities as well.
Yeah.
I think what was amazing.
He was in a ton of stuff.
What was amazing was how quick the Harry Potter cast got to it about sending their condolences and getting word out about how great he was.
Daniel Radcliffe was exceptionally broken up.
There was a great article of Daniel talking about it. About how
he
amazing
made him
it was.
Feel comfortable.
Yes.
On set.
Yes.
Also,
and, when you're an 11-year-old kid, and this
that's
is your
pretty
movie.
intimidating.
I've listened to a couple interviews with the guy, and he seems like that jolly guy that like everybody, like a grandpa, a very grandpa-like character. I got you. We gotta wrap it up soon. But anyway, just to finish, he seemed like a very jolly kind of grandpa-like character that everyone could find comfort in.
Yeah.
And like I'm sure if someone was stressing on set about something or they weren't getting something,
he would come and comfort them, make them say, "Hey,
definitely
don't worry about it so much."
And he was a funny guy.
Yeah, he was.
He also helped Daniel get his very first Broadway.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Equius, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
God, that's fucking weird shit. I've seen the movie, and it's just like, no.
So, it was kind of all over the place today. It wasn't as organized as I thought it would be, but I mean,
we still mainly focused on the first one.
With these guests, do you really think it would?
Yeah, no.
I tried to keep us on track
with anyone. I wasn't expecting it to be like this. So this is the new format that we're gonna do with the Pottercast. Is that each Pottercast we're planning on going book by book. It might be next time we do on book 2, or if we decide to do something different, we might change it to where we keep on book 1 and talk more about that. And so so that's the format of it's going to be. So next Pottercast, expect either more on book 1 or book 2, and expect probably different guests.
Yes,
what?
Nikki.
And send questions about
Please.
specific
God,
books, because
please
we had
do.
nothing to go on.
Literally, your questions guide us.
Yes, they do.
Your questions are my spirit animal.
But yeah, they
Questions about the books.
Questions about the books
help.
definitely help organize us and keep the podcast on the right track.
Yeah.
And keep us from diverging like we did so much today.
And we've got I've got 2 things before we wrap up. Before we sign off.
2 things.
2 things.
Okay.
One is the trivia question. Told you guys I was bringing that back.
Okay.
Okay, now, remember, none of you 3, Jake, Max, and Nikki, can answer this.
Yes.
But the question is, how did Professor Quirrell acquire his turban?
No using Google, because then we get to stab you.
And don't just read the book and post it, because nobody likes that.
We get to stab you.
And that's all for the Harry... Well, that's not all for the Harry Potter stuff. I still have the mod of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Mod of the week going to it's a Skyrim mod.
Oh, okay.
Harry Potter wands in
What?
Skyrim.
Not bad.
Right now, it looks like there are only 3 wands currently, but they're working on it.
Are they used for casting the magic, or are they actually used for like beating people? Man.
They're used for casting magic.
You
Okay.
stab someone to death.
And it looks like from what I saw, it's a little different type of magic than normally in Skyrim. It's like
Does it come out of the wand tip?
it depends.
Oh, really?
There's one picture here where someone's pointing the wand and a lightning strike is coming down.
Oh, there's
That's
a cup.
legit.
Yeah.
Okay. I
And
like that.
currently the wands that they have are okay, it looks like Holly, the Elder Wand
Of course.
in Skyrim.
Yes.
And that looks like you.
Okay.
So Voldemort's wand, Dumbledore's wand, and Harry's wand.
Okay.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
If I played video games.
Alright.
I'm probably gonna go download Skyrim to my computer and install that mod.
Yeah. So, I'll have you send out the link to me later, and I'll put it in the description. That's gonna wrap it up for now. I'm sorry it was kind of all over the place and wild and crazy, but we got most content out.
But compare it to our first one because it's a lot more organized than our first one was.
That's
yeah.
kind of sad.
Yes.
A little bit.
But yeah, so thank you again to Max and Nikki for being on. We enjoyed you guys on
Are
our
you gonna put our
content.
URLs in the description?
We will.
If
we'll
you'd
put it in the
like, we can
description.
promo you.
I would love to
Promo,
be promoed.
yo.
If you want to pimp your Tumblr right now, go ahead.
Unusuallyhorrid.tumblr.com.
The Eyes of the Storm at tumblr.com.
All right, and then
Yep.
as you know, Josh is. What's your Tumblr?
Morpheusdreamjosh.tumblr.com because I use it.
You can find me at farneydiesel.com.
Questions you can send to the nerdquest-podcast.tumblr.com or the nerdquestingfornerdquest@gmail.com.
And also our Facebook page, which will be in the description. And so until next time, I think it's time to sign
From
off
all of
because
us at the Nerdquest Podcast.
I'm late for Transfiguration. So
Damn, not again.
yeah,
I'm hungry.
Dude,
Alright.
McGonagall's gonna kill you.
I know, man.
Seriously.
To the Great Hall for me.
Peace out!
Bye.
All right.